It's time for You Can't Just Stop's Big Ask Question of the Day. Welcome to You Can't Just Stop, the place for quietly stubborn entrepreneurs with big goals and dreams. After encountering hundreds of high-achieving athletes, entrepreneurs, and world changers, I've discovered that many times their impact comes from the questions they ask as much as the actions they take. That's why I invite you to answer a question each and every day to reach your goals. In what way has my life been interrupted? Well, I read an interesting book recently from Zuleika Juhad called Between Two Kingdoms, a memoir of a life interrupted. And it got me thinking about how we let our lives get interrupted. Now, Zuleika's journey is about her being diagnosed with cancer at something like the age of 23. So coming out of college, getting diagnosed with cancer, and pretty much having to live in isolation for 2 years as she fought off cancer in a pretty dramatic way. Not an easy story to read. But, I was thinking about how do we allow ourselves to be interrupted? What interruptions are we putting in our own way intentionally? Suleika's story was definitely not intentional, right? It's cancer. She really had no control over that. And then she had to fight that off. But so many of us, myself included, we like to put interruptions in our own path, and we design interruptions into our day, probably unintentionally. So how do I allow myself to be interrupted, and what could I change to get rid of those interruptions? That's all for today's question. For more great questions to help you achieve your goals, download my 50 favorite questions by following the link in the description. See you tomorrow.